Morning Raptors freak Alexios here. It's Thursday, so it's Thursday Think Tank, and today we're taking a deep dive look at the NBA schedule, which was released yesterday at 3 o'clock, and it's very interesting. It's a very interesting schedule. I'm really curious to see what you guys think about it. Anything that you've noticed about it. I have a bunch of things I want to point out about it, and should be a real interesting stream today. Monique came in early, and she's kind of pointed out a couple of the stats about the season. 12 back-to-back games. That's right. We have 12 this year. Last year we had 15. And some of that was because of postponed games and moving things around and stuff like that. But 12 is pretty good. Like if we're looking at the whole of the NBA with all the other teams and stuff like that, we're tied for the least amount of back-to-backs for the whole season. So that's favorable in some ways. Now, there's something interesting about the schedule this year. They're doing a lot of things to cut down on travel, and I really applaud this. In fact, this was something we talked about last year during the season. Why don't they do things like if the team's going to come to Toronto and play us on this side of the border, why do they have to cross a couple times? If they have two games in Toronto against us, why can't they play them two in a row at that point in the season? I understand it's good to have points in the season when you play the same team at different times because they'll be in different places, whether it's with injuries, trades, whatever, and stuff like that. And then it's not as fun maybe to play the same team 2 days in a row. That the NBA is kind of worried about like ticket sales. Like to me, it's kind of like a concert. Like a big artist will come to your city and they'll have 2 dates, 2 nights in a row, and people will all come to that and stuff like that. So I can see where their concerns are about ticket sales for games that are the same exact game right in a row. Like, for example, the beginning of the season, we're playing Miami, this third and fourth game of the season in Miami, and we play both our games in Miami and get them out of the way right away. Now, why did they do this? Well, this cuts down on travel overall for the whole season. And it's smart. I like it. In the age of the pandemic and stuff like that, this just makes a lot of sense. It cuts down on air travel, it cuts down on all kinds of stuff. So it's a good idea to do these 2 game stands like in one place against the same team. It's just I don't understand why they didn't put the games together one night after another. There's a day in between all of these stands. And that if we're going to have to do back-to-backs, we might as well play 2 nights in a row. Like this Miami game at the beginning of the season, there's a game on Saturday and a game on Monday. Why couldn't we play either Saturday and Sunday or Sunday and Monday? And then that kind of thing. That may be the next level of making this work. Now, it could have things to do with like the NHL and concerts and things like that. And then it's really, really difficult to get 2 nights in a row open an arena and stuff like that. It's probably a logistical reason that's that way and stuff like that. Yeah. Monique saying, good morning. What a time. Yes, Monique, this is so awesome. It's like we finally can plan our fall. We know when the Raptor games are going to be now, and we can kind of start scheduling things for what we want to do over the next few months and stuff. It's really, really good. Monique's also said in her initial comment, a 6-game homestand in January, and then a 7-game road trip that starts in January also. Yeah, January is going to be an interesting month for the Raptors. We got 16 games, which is the most games of any month this season. And in it, we've got this great homestand where we play Milwaukee, New York, Portland, Charlotte twice, and Atlanta. But then we go on the road for another trip. Then we come back, and then we go on the West Coast trip of the year, which is the big one. The big West Coast trip is not in December this year. It's not earlier in the season. It's in January. And it starts in Sacramento and goes Golden State, Portland, Phoenix, Utah, Houston, and Memphis. Now, that is an interesting West Coast trip because it's not the toughest teams out there. There's some tough teams in there, but then it's not totally the toughest teams. So we should be able to get some good wins out there. And then, of course, there's an LA trip that's a little bit later in the season also that isn't as many games. I think it's 3 or 4 games out on the West Coast, and that's it. We'll play both the Clippers and the Lakers in LA and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a really good schedule, honestly, in a lot of ways. I like the schedule. At first, I was like, man, there's some tough stuff on this, like particularly at the very beginning of the season and at the end of the season, we have really tough stretch. Like as soon as we start the season, we're throwing in against big time teams, tough teams, our peers in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland opening night is no slouch. In fact, I looked at that game and I wondered, why are we playing Cleveland in the first game? Now, the Raptors have opened the season at home for 10 years straight now. They give us the home game for our opener every year, and that's good. I like that in some ways. And we have a good record in that game. We're 7-3 in the opening game when we play at home in the last 10 years. Now, the last 2 years, we've lost that opening game at home. Now, the first one, the one before didn't count because it was Tampa. But last year, we lost the opening game at home to Washington. And I don't know if it's the kind of thing where, if I'm looking at this from conspiracy theory kind of mind, is the NBA trying to set us up to lose our first game to Cleveland in the first game by doing a referee hit job and hoping that we're not completely ready for the season? I think it's going to be really, really important that Nick Nurse has this team absolutely ready at the start of the season. We can't be easing into things, trying to figure things out or anything like that. We need to be ready to go as soon as the season starts, because we can't afford to lose any of these games in the first 10 games, because they're important games against rivals in the Eastern Conference that will determine seeding later on. And that if we don't have our act together right away, it could be a big problem for the team. I feel like we're in a better shape to do this season. Last year, we had a lot of questions with young players coming in, a little bit of new team, Kyle Lowry gone, all kinds of different questions like that. But it is going to be super important, this Cleveland game on the opening night. Then we get Brooklyn on the Friday, and then Miami, 2 games in a row in Miami, and then Philly. Half of our Philly games are in the first week of the season. That we play them 4 times, and we have to go and play. We'll play them both times in Scotiabank Arena right away. And that'll be all the home games that we get against Philly, and then we get 2 games against them in Philadelphia. So that's going to be really, really crucial. Those Miami games and those Philly games right at the beginning of the season. We cannot come in and have rust. We cannot come in and be trying to figure things out. We need to be going by then. There can't be a slow start, because this could be having real strong implications for playoff seeding right away. So this beginning of this schedule is brutal for playoff implications. And they cannot take this lightly. The fact that we're going to get half our games against Miami and Philadelphia out of the way in the first 6 games of the season is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. I cannot understate it more. Oh my gosh. So let's see what else you guys are saying. Shane Waters, good morning. Apparently the Christmas Day schedule was leaked, and surprise, surprise, no Raps games again. Not sure how legit that is, but believable based on disrespect always shown to the Raps. Well, it is legit. Shane, and I'm okay with it. This is such a stupid thing in some ways. Like, sure, it's prestigious. Sure, the NBA builds it up to be a big deal to be playing on Christmas Day. We've made it bigger than it really is. I really don't give a shit about whether we play on Christmas Day or not. In fact, we're not playing on Boxing Day either this year. We get Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day all off. That the Raptors, this is great for the little Van Vliet kids. That Daddy Freddie's going to be home for the whole entire Christmas. And I am so okay with that. Seriously. I think it's a little bit overhyped. Like, why should we take this Christmas Day honorary thing so seriously if the New York Knicks are involved? I mean, it's that simple, y'all. It's not like they're giving those games to teams on merit. So why do we feel upset about it or slighted? We should not give a shit. I mean, seriously, we really shouldn't. It's good for the players to get the break and be with their families over Christmas. And if you play on Christmas Day, you don't get to be with your family that good or easy. You'll be in with them in a hotel or something like that. And, that's why I don't look at it as being a slight. I'm like, thank you. Okay, we'll take this time off for family and stuff like that. So, yeah, they're off Boxing Day this year, too. They play on the 23rd, and then they don't play again until the 27th against the Clippers. And that is an interesting factor and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, we can take it as disrespect if we want. Some people really put an over importance on it. And I don't at this point. I'm like, let the players have time with their kids. I mean, or have time doing whatever they do over Christmas. Saying very beginning is a tough schedule for sure. Yeah, it starts super tough. And then the end is crazy brutal also, guys. I mean, we're in the thick of things and fighting for a playoff position. By the end of the season, we're going to have a hard time probably making a lot of maneuvers to try and catch up on anybody if we're in trouble. That's why this is what my plan is for the schedule. Nick Nurse, you need to get this team to win a lot in the middle of the season. Like all of our scrub teams, the teams that aren't that good, we're playing them all in the middle. And at the beginning of the season, the end of the season, these are the tough teams. Like we have to finish the last couple games of the season. The last 3 games of the season are 2 games in Boston in a row and Milwaukee at home. So if we're struggling or trying to get certain seeding, trying to stay out of the play-in, any of that kind of stuff, it's going to be tough to make those maneuvers at the end of the season because the end of the schedule is super stacked also. So we start real rough and we end real rough, real tough schedule. Real tough schedule. And I don't like that Boston game, the first Boston game in Boston is a back-to-back. And we'll be playing in Charlotte and then coming to Boston and playing the Celtics then. And this is a perfect case of what I was talking about. There's 2 games at Boston at the end of the season. Why can't they be shifted together and take a travel day from Charlotte and put that first Boston game on the 6th of April and play them on the 6th and the 7th or something like that? The only good news about this is Boston is also playing on the second night of a back-to-back in that situation also. So it's going to be a very tough ending and a very tough beginning to the schedule this year. So we're going to have to be, Nick Nurse has to be ready and on it, and he may need to make up a lot of ground and get a good lead. Like if we're going into the last 2 weeks of the season, I want to be the number 1 seed with a good, nice cushion. Because if Boston and Milwaukee are anywhere near us, those games are going to be super competitive, those last 3 games of the season. So, yeah, it's going to be crazy. Monique's saying, who cares about the Christmas game? Yeah, I'm with her. Who cares at this point? You know, they put us on Christmas after the championship year. And the reason why they did it, like this is my theory, they put us up against the Boston Celtics. They put us on a very early in the day game. I think it was the noon game of that Christmas 2019. And the other thing is they had us play the Indiana Pacers 2 nights before at a late game. And then there was like a day, but there was really like not a whole lot of time between that game and playing the Celtics on Christmas morning. And part of the problem was that the Celtics had like 3 days off. And we were kind of coming in as like the second night of a back-to-back with a game at noon. We had played Indiana and then we had a day off, but then we had to play at noon on Christmas Day. And we were set up to fail in that situation. The Celtics had been resting for 3 days and we only had like a day and a half off and we got beat bad. We got beat bad in that game, but that was a setup game for them to beat us. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, well, you guys may be the defending champs, but look, the Celtics beat you on Christmas and we'll showcase that. That's really how I felt like they set up that game for us to lose because they wanted us to look bad on Christmas and have a bad Christmas. Because I did. I had a bad Christmas after we lost the Celtics that day. It sucked. Y'all remember that day. It wasn't the best Christmas because we lost the Celtics early in the day and stuff like that. Yeah. Shane Waters saying, tell us how you really feel, Mo. Yeah, I mean, it's just at this point, like it's not really worth being one of the things where we feel like we're getting slighted. It's like in some ways, I don't understand it. It's a silly thing. Like I said, if they were really giving the games to teams that deserve it, Miami would be playing on that day, and we'd probably be playing on that day. And Heat Nation's calling it out also. It's like, wait, we're not playing on Christmas? What's going on here? We're like one of the top 4 teams in the league because we were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're not playing us on Christmas. The Heat Nation's complaining about this also. So it's like, whatever. Like at this point, we should be just like, whatever. This isn't really not a big deal. Let's see. Monique's saying we normally play after New Year's Eve this year, January 2nd. Yeah, we're not having a New Year's Eve game this year, which is fine with me. I mean, it was a tradition where I like to go, and I know that Monique likes to go to the New Year's Eve game. But we'll be playing on the 30th, and then we'll play on we'll play on, hang on, I'm looking at the wrong one. We'll play on the 30th against Phoenix, and then we play again on the 2nd. So we're not playing New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Once again, holidays off for the players to enjoy themselves and have a life. So, I mean, all right, there's another thing I got to talk about. This beginning of the season, we're playing Cleveland at home, and then we go on Friday to Brooklyn and play the Nets for their first game. against them. And then we go on a back-to-back to Miami to play the Miami Heat on the Saturday. Now, the thing about this is we're going to be playing Miami on Monday also. So the players are going to have Saturday night and Sunday off in Miami, South Beach. Now, I know our guys are cool. I know our guys are all right. It's just, to me, these 2-day stands in one place, especially in the Miami and the Orlando 2-day stands, which are very early in the season, these are places where we could get in trouble. Like, I'd almost rather they have travel days instead of sitting around in a city for a day, waiting around, hanging out. That's why I'd rather they be back to back, like no day in between. Like, if they're going to have a day where they're just going to sit in Miami from Saturday till Monday, that is not, that in itself could be full of pitfalls and problems in some ways. Now, our guys are very disciplined, hard workers. They're not knuckleheads. I don't expect them to get in trouble with this. But other teams may get in trouble if they have to hang out in a city for a couple of days and not have a whole lot to do. Like, if they're guys that just like, hey, they're bored, and then they, stuff like that. And it's also really weird how we're playing both the games in Miami and both the games in Orlando within the first month of the season, really. Like, I guess the other 2 games in Orlando are actually in December. But by the time December 15th or 16th comes around, we'll have played all 4 of our games at Florida arenas. And all of our games against Brooklyn will be over also. We play the Nets like 4 times really early in the season, and then we don't see them again after December the 16th for the whole season. And that's interesting to me also in a lot of ways too. So yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things about this season. If you guys have seen anything, but from looking at it yourself, I don't expect y'all to have gone in depth like I have. But if you see anything, you want to point anything out, please write it in and we'll go over it, because there's a lot more I got to cover about this. Like, there's a lot of interesting things like the afternoon games. There are weird afternoon games in our schedule already. We have 9 afternoon games, including 2 very suspicious afternoon games in Detroit or against Detroit. We're going to be playing Detroit in Detroit at noon on a Saturday in the middle of, I think it's in January or February. And it's in February, I believe. It's in February. We're going to play them on the 25th of February at noon. And I'm like, anything that has to do with Detroit, of course, we're a little, and when it's fishy, like a noon start in Detroit like that, I'm like, this could be, that kind of thing. I get a little worried. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's all right. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, I prefer having no Christmas games. I like to have personal time for family on Christmas Day. Yeah, Cool Cat's got it right. Cool Cat from the Twitch, regular on Twitch stream with Scotty. This is right. Like, we don't want any kind of way to ruin the day by getting an L on the middle of the day like we did in 2019. It kind of just sours your Christmas. So let's just keep them separated and just have it like, okay, we can just be all about family and gifts and just having a nice time and not dealing with the stress of the game. Like, go ahead and let the other nations have their stress and problems. What if they lose and then their Christmas is ruined, stuff like that. Raymond Jacobs here. How much March and April? Final stretch doesn't look too hard. How about March and April? Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the final stretch does look hard right at the end. But you're right. There is a lot of the cream puffs. I was trying to look for, where are the cream puff games? Where are the tough games, and where are the easier games? And it really is like front loaded and at the very end loaded with tough. But in the middle, there's a lot of interspersed, like, maybe easy. It's hard to tell who the easy games are going to be. We can't just say Detroit's an easy game. Orlando could be better this year. Oklahoma City, a lot of these teams that have been shitty could make a jump this year. So it's going to all get sussed out and figured out as the season goes on, who's actually real threats, who are easier teams to play. And we cannot fully expect the teams that have been bad in recent years to be completely bad. That some of these teams will make jumps this year, like Detroit. I'm pretty sure Detroit's going to make a jump this year. Orlando could very much make a jump. I don't think Indiana's going to be that good this year. We should be able to kick their ass pretty good. But it is interesting. It does seem like it's an easier schedule in the middle. We just have a really tough start, and the end is not going to be easy to finish out. That's what I'm going to say. Random gamers here. I know. All right, listen. I've looked at the Philly schedule a little bit. That's also, and they have some brutal stretches. Also, oh my gosh, Sixers to end their season is really tough too. Like they have a very tough schedule and near the end. Also, random gamers saying Sixers versus Raptors coming early, back to back. Yes, October 26th, random gamer, and October 28th. You guys will come and take your two games in Toronto against us right away. You won't have to come back across the border into Canada for the rest of the year. And that may be kind of appealing to this Philadelphia 76ers. And who knows, we'll see Thibault in those games, whether he got his second shot or not this summer. It'll be very interesting. And like I said, this is right away. We have to be ready right away. It's the same thing for y'all, too. You guys, I don't know who your first couple games are, but having us within the first week is pretty good test, like right away. And it's good to know that what the date is when we're going to see the Sixers and the Raptors play. And I want to look and see when Pascal has to go to Philadelphia. Just to worry about him. December 19th, he's going to Philadelphia. We'll be there. And December 19th, these two games are split, though, the ones in Philadelphia for the season. December 19th, and then where's the other one? Near the end of the season on the 31st of March, we'll play in Philly for that one. That'll be an important game also. But I saw Sixers fans on Twitter are posting that stretch near the end of the season, and they're saying this is brutal because you guys have like a murderer's row of games, like us, Phoenix, Golden State, Milwaukee, Boston, like all in a row, like near the end of the season. You guys have a tough gauntlet. I saw that. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Monique saying last time Celtics blew us out on Christmas, stop complaining. Yeah, it is what it is. But that was a setup. I really do believe that Celtics game was a setup and they wanted us to lose. Cool Cat saying 2 days is good for Scotty to be around his family. I like our schedule this year. It's a better schedule. It's good for injury management. I'm with Cool Cat on this. I'm actually, at first, when I saw how it started, I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to be so horrible to us. And I was like, okay, but that was really part of the worst part is the very beginning and the end. I mean, there's some jerky road trip kind of stuff and, different things, but it's all pretty good and spread out. And there's some good stats coming out in the last day. Like the Raptors will travel like the second or third least amount of miles out of all the NBA teams this season. They have some really good favorable stats. Like another thing is they keep track of which teams are like coming from how much rest and whether they're tied or one team has an advantage. Well, the Raptors actually have a really good schedule for having more of an advantage with rest in a lot of games compared to other teams, whether they're going to be on a back-to-back or, equal or whatever. We have a couple of real advantages in that we're going to be playing teams, catching them on the end of a back-to-back and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's a good schedule for the most part. And they're obviously listening and trying to tinker with it and make it a better schedule every year. Like there's a really great article out. I'll put the link to it in the comments after this. It's by Katie Heindel, who's an absolutely fantastic writer, an NBA writer for the Raptors specifically, where she interviewed one of the schedule makers. His name is, what is his name? Gene Lee. Gene Lee. She interviewed Gene Lee. He makes the schedule and he talked about their whole reasoning and thinking and how they do it. They start making it in the middle of the year before. Like they'll start making this schedule for next year this fall when we first start this season. And what they do is they kind of figure out all the national TV games first. They figure out the contracts with TNT, ESPN, and NBA TV, and they figure out which games need to be filled with which marquee matchups. And then they go build off of that. So the very first games they decide are the national television games and how many each team is getting and stuff like that. We have done pretty good with national TV considering things. We should get better just because of who we are, but it's also that Canada US market thing. And we actually have 9 games on the national television in the United States this year. We have 2 games on ESPN, 2 games on TNT, and 5 games on NBA TV. And that's pretty damn good, honestly, in some ways. Like, sure, the Knicks, other teams are going to get a little bit more than us, even if they don't deserve it. But it is, we are increased from the number of games we had last year. So that is a good sign and stuff like that. And they're games that kind of really matter. There's like a few Milwaukee, Toronto games, and then this whole rivalries thing that they've come up for this season. They have a rivalry week that's going to be going on in, I believe it's in January. And we're supposedly our rival is Golden State. I've told people this. They are kind of on the down low a rival for us. Like some people don't think Toronto and Golden State, what the fuck is this rivalry? Well, it is kind of a rivalry because of the finals. And there's other different things about it. Like we are the team that can say we beat the Golden State Warriors in the finals and they never beat us. You know, there's a lot of things we could brag and say that other teams can't in this league. The Boston Celtics can't say this shit. So that's the whole thing. If they want to look at this as being a rivalry, Golden State and Toronto, I'm all about it because listen, they're the defending champions. And if we're a rival of the defending champions, that means we're in the upper echelon of the NBA. And I'm all about that. I mean, it could have easily been Philadelphia. It could have easily been New York or Brooklyn that we have our rivalry game against. And that probably would have made more sense. But it really is kind of prestigious to have our rivalry match in the rivalry week against the defending champions. So I'm not upset about that. And some people will be like, what does this make any sense? Well, they just always conveniently forget Raptors history and things that happen with the Raptors and stuff like that. So it's that kind of thing and stuff like that. So, all right, let's keep going here. Monique is saying, you know, and just getting back to Cool Cat's comment there, it's like, it is good for injury management. Like I'm looking at the schedule and how much days off in between games, and the back-to-backs are not super grueling. Some of them are easy back-to-backs, but some of them are pretty, like, they don't make sense. Like, there is a little bit of, like, we'll go down to Texas and we'll play San Antonio and Dallas, and then instead of going to Chicago, we got to go back to Toronto and play in Toronto against Chicago and then go to Chicago. It's like a little bit of back and forth jerking around that doesn't totally make sense with flights and things like that. But for the most part, everything seems to be pretty smooth and nice beats with days off, game, day off, game, day off, game, day off. And for the first part of the season, we don't play any games on Tuesday or Thursday. We have no Tuesday or Thursday games for like the first month of the season. Everything's all like Monday, Wednesday, Friday oriented and stuff like that. So Monique saying, can just imagine Rico Hines' first home games, crowd will be rowdy. You know, Rico Hines has been continuing for these past 3 weeks. Like they've been going every week and different people have been showing up. That's the whole thing. Like they've had like Steph Curry and Kyrie there this week and Scotty went back. Like he may have taken last week off and traveled around a little bit, going to Utah, going back down to Miami, coming up here for a couple days, and then going back to Los Angeles on Tuesday. And now he's running, and Rico Hines runs with Clint Capella, Trae Young, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, like huge names that he's running with right now in LA this week. And that's the thing. Rico did not stop. He is still running runs. He's done it for 3 weeks now. And he'll have more and more highlights just dropping here and there. And I'm so here for it. Thank you, Rico Hines. Oh my gosh. So good. So good. All right. Let me see what else you guys are saying. Lots of cool stuff to talk about with the schedule coming out. Let's see. Joseph Starks is here. Good morning, everyone. Does anyone know what we are doing with Jalen Harris? Are we allowed to sign him to the G League? There's no official word. I mean, the Raptors haven't really shown what they're going to do with him yet. That's really up to them. Now, like I said yesterday, if Orlando says, like, we want to sign you, Jalen, and we're going to give you this contract, and we're going to actually let you be a real rotation player. Like, you're not going to be G League. We just need you to be on our roster to fill it out. It may be the kind of thing where the Raptors are going to be nice to him. He's had a hard time. If he's already got a good spot, and we can't give him that spot on our team because we're already full, that they may just be like, you know what, we're going to do you a solid and let you walk and go to Orlando and take that money and not match it. He is restricted. And whatever any other team, he could be signed by any team right now if they want him. And then we have the option to match it and retain him. But we may not want to. That's the other thing. It could be that he gets an offer from another team and that we just let him walk. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. It could be that nothing happens, that he just doesn't get any offers or any calls, and that's it. But we still have his rights. We retain his rights, and he's a restricted free agent. So whatever offer is made to him, we got to look at it and see if we want to match it or let him walk. Is basically how it's going to go down, Joseph. So a random gamer saying, did you guys see that the NBA is doing something called Rivals Week from January 24th to 28th? You guys play the Warriors, and the Sixers get Brooklyn and Denver because of Embiid and Jokic. Yeah, well, you guys got 2 rivalry games. That's cool. It should have been us and you. That would have been way more better drama. In fact, in some ways, they should have held off on us playing you guys until later in the season because it could really have built it up. Because this is a big deal. Philly fans really mad at Siakam, and Raptor fans really mad at Embiid. So it's kind of like this is a real grudge match in some ways. And the NBA should be more like wrestling or something like that and realize where the hot feud is. Instead of like going like on something from like 3 years ago in a rivalry that most people don't even really think is a rivalry. And part of the reason why they think it, I think it's a rivalry. I've always thought Golden State and Toronto was a rivalry because of how the finals went down in 2019 and different things like that. So I can understand why it's a rivalry, but many people will not. They'll look from the outside, other average NBA fans, and be like, what the fuck is this Golden State Toronto shit and stuff like that. Now, yeah, you can understand a Denver-Philly matchup because of the big men. A Brooklyn-Philly matchup, that's a great one. I mean, that one has a lot of history and stuff like that. So pretty cool. Yeah, Monique saying nothing on Jalen Harris yet. Random Gamer saying Philly starts the season off with the Celtics' first NBA game. Then 2 days later, they got the Bucks. Yeah, that's a little similar to what we're looking at. I mean, Cleveland can be tough. They're dangerous. They're a dangerous team. They're right close there. They're in the middle of the Eastern Conference, but they could make a little bit of a leap. They have some good young players, Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. These guys could make a leap, and they could be even better this year. So, yeah, they're dangerous. And Brooklyn, I mean, I really do think Brooklyn's going to be a little bit of a pushover this year in some ways, especially if they don't have things right with their dumpster fire. Like if this Kevin Durant stuff, if he's on the team still, this is really hurting them at the beginning of the season. And like they're trying to acclimate Ben Simmons to their team and figure things out. It may be better to play Brooklyn near the beginning of the season because they may not have everything really worked out yet. Like Simmons has not played for them yet. So, hey, playing them in the second game of the season for the Raptors, it may be really good for Toronto that they're playing the Nets so soon because they may figure their stuff out more and more as the season goes on. So the fact that we're playing the Brooklyn Nets all 4 games by December the 16th may turn out to be a very helpful thing for the Raptors. Or it could be that they kind of have it together at the beginning and then they fall apart more and more as the season goes on. So it may be the other way also. I don't know what to predict with Brooklyn because Brooklyn is the biggest question mark. The NBA people want to believe they're a championship contender this year, but I think they're full of shit. I think that you think that the Nets are a contender to win the championship with the mess that they're in right now? You are crazy. Is what I'll say. Dysfunction does not win championships. And that is what Brooklyn is right now. Now, the 2 Miami games right away, that is so crucial. This is a team that is going to definitely be in the playoff hunt. And if we're worried about seeding and if we're having close to record the same as Miami, we need to win these 2 games against Miami in Miami right at the beginning of the season. And then, of course, Philly. 2 games against Philly. We only get 4 games against them. Those 2 first games against Philly in Toronto, the only 2 games we play them here in Toronto, we're getting them out of way right away at the beginning of the season. So you have to understand how crucial defending our home court against the Sixers will be on the 26th and the 28th of October. Very, very, very crucial and stuff like that. Yeah. Random Gamer, your schedule looks tough, similar to ours. Like you have a tough start and a tough ending also. Very similar to the Raptors. Joe's saying also, thanks, Mo. If Jalen plays well, he definitely plays like that 6th man we need. Then again, so does Gabe Davis. Tough choices. As somebody has said in the last couple of days, is Jalen Harris going to be 6'9"? Is Jalen Harris going to be able to be in our frame we like, the Bobby Webster vision? No. So it may be that we drafted him at a time when it was like kind of like this is not totally going with our real future and what we're trying to do. I like Jalen as a person. I think he's going to do okay and he'll finally get in the NBA and get something going. But I don't think it's going to be with us, guys. I think that our team is so stacked at this point with who we've got going into training camp that it's like really making room for him or doing anything like that. It just doesn't seem like it's realistic and that he probably will be on another team this season. And I know a lot of you guys are Jalen Harris fans, and you probably don't want to hear that, but that is what I'm seeing. Yeah. All right, let's see. Arshvir Samal, good to see you. Good to see a new name. I'm on live every single morning, 9:30 a.m., talking Raptors for the daily news and whatever's going on. We have two ESPN and TNT games. Disrespect. Yeah, we could say that in some ways. I believe you're right. You know, listen, the way I look at it is the Raptors should be treated the same way as the Milwaukee Bucks. That we are very similar franchises. We both have a recent championship. We're both perennial playoff teams. We both have good superstars. They're very entertaining, both teams. But the difference is we're in Canada and we have the Canadian market and they have the things down there. And there is a lot of people down there that say, well, Toronto games don't get as much viewing in the US because people don't want to watch them. Well, they're trained to not be interested in them. They're trained to not want to be interested or think that the Raptors are important or anything like that. That is how they're conditioned. And you're right, Arshvir. It is disrespectful that we don't play more than the Lakers. It's like last year. I understand LeBron's on that team, but that team was garbage. They lost so many games. And Charles Barkley said it over and over again last season. Why are we watching Laker games? This is a horrible team. Why are we putting them on blast and showing their games like this? When there's teams like ours that don't get any attention and really should. Like our games are very exciting and entertaining. Our players are young, up and coming superstars that are fun to watch. And the average NBA player can watch a Raptors game and really enjoy it because they'll see a lot of really cool things happen with our team. So I'm with Mr. Samal that we need more games, that this is disrespectful, NBA, but we can change this over time. And I think this will change partly because of Scotty Barnes. That Scotty Barnes is just going to be so popular and attractive to the average NBA fan. They're going to see this kid and how much exuberance and joy he puts into the NBA game. And it's going to be like, this is just marketing gold, NBA. You're going to be like, oh, we got to put Scotty on blast because he is just such gold for that kind of stuff. So I think he will pull us there, much like Vince did in the early 2000s with his electric dunking and all the different things he was doing on the Raptors at that time. He forced them to put them on national television in the US. And I think Sky's going to have the same effect as the years start to come by. And this may be the very beginning of it this year, where he's going to be so undeniably entertaining that they're going to be like, we need to put him on all the time and stuff like that. And I really think that's going to happen. Random Gamer saying, let's see what he's saying. The Sixers have 34 national TV games. So absurd, but I love we're getting. Yeah. Well, you guys, listen, you're on the up and coming. You're not used to this too. Like you've been a little bit like not as put in the spotlight, but now you guys are bona fide with James Harden being there. You know, it's attractive for them to put you guys on TV. So it is a little bit of a boost. It's a bigger bit of games for you guys this year. And I would say congratulations to you guys. I'm not going to be a hater and say you guys don't deserve it. This Sixers team needs to be on TV because they are exciting to watch with players like Maxey and Harden running around out there. You know, I'm not going to talk about big boy, but we'll just say that. Monique saying, Hustle Play Season 2, let's go. Hustle Play Season 2, let's go, Chris Boucher. That's right. I can't wait to see what Chris has got for us in content. He has a funny little clip on his Instagram this morning where he says, if you're insecure, you can't date me. I have fans. So I'm wondering, this dude's probably like meeting girls right now, Chris Boucher, and they're like hanging out and like stuff like that. And the girl may be like insecure or like she's not really feeling good about herself. Well, you can't date Chris Boucher because he's got fans and they probably will be trolling you if they figure out who you are or something like that. Or if you're out and about in town, it's like Chris has fans. So you need to be a strong lady if you're going to be on his arm. You cannot be insecure is what he's telling y'all and stuff like that. There's a little Chris Boucher aside there. It's funny. All right, let's see. Cool Cat saying Raptors championship ended Golden State's dynasty run. They are back 3 years later. Yeah, that's the thing. We didn't totally kill the Golden State dynasty. Like there's this meme going on around right now with Kawhi destroyed all these dynasties. And they say two, the Miami dynasty and the Golden State dynasty. Well, in reality, he actually destroyed 4 dynasties. That, you know, he didn't really we didn't have a dynasty yet, but him leaving kind of ended us having a dynasty for the next season because we probably would have repeated if Kawhi had hung around because we had the best team in the East the next year without Kawhi. And then Listen, he ended the San Antonio Spurs dynasty himself by doing what he did and the way he left San Antonio. So Kawhi is a dynasty killer. And yeah, he might have killed our dynasty, but I don't think he did. He's just, we're going to get that preliminary one with him and we're going to get more and we'll have a dynasty still. We'll still link that 2019 one to it and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't really say that we killed the Golden State dynasty at this point since they won last year. They've come around full circle, they healed up, and they came back. And that's what I'm hoping we'll do also. That we've had Tampa, we've had a couple of down weird years in different ways, and now we'll come back and rise up and get it again. That's where I'm really hoping. Let's see. Gabe Brown is looking nice. Doubting fans, RHJ, it's tough competition. That's what I'm saying. Each crop of each year, there's more and more young players coming up and the escalator into the system. And sometimes if you step to the side on your step on the escalator, like Jalen Harris had to do because of a 1-year suspension, there's more guys that have come up that escalator and it's crowded. And that's really the case here. It's like Gabe Brown. I'd much rather have Gabe Brown on our team because of how tall he is, because of how athletic and he's looking. And he does look like he can hit his shot too. And then Doughton is just looking steady. This man is 6'5". This man is taller than he looks. I've seen the way he's throwing it down. If he was a shorter guard, he wouldn't throw down dunks like he is. And he is a really good player. Like, I'm really excited about Jeff Doughton Jr. I'm becoming a big fan of his because he's steady and he looks like he's just going to do his job and not cause us any problems. And Ron Harper Jr., well, we'll see. We'll see what levels and stuff he does. He's been a mixed bag at different times. But G's exactly right. Jalen Harris getting thrown in there, it may not be totally fair to him because the whole game has changed as far as the Raptors roster. When we were in Tampa, think about how shitty our team was overall. Like, as far as things, I mean, it really wasn't, but it was. I mean, we had Aaron Baines and Alex Len and stuff like that going on, Stanley Johnson. So it's like, listen, of course, Jalen Harris, like, think about that in that way. Jalen Harris wasn't even like really on that team playing a whole lot most of the year, and it wasn't that good of a team. So how would he do now on the team when it's upgraded and way better with people like Otto Porter Jr. and Thad Young on it and stuff like that? So you got to look at where that team was in Tampa when Jalen was on the team. It was easier to be on that team, and he still didn't rise up and just take a spot or become like a solid player for us. It's going to be even harder now. So it's like, it's that kind of thing. The competition is tough. Angry Mexican, good morning. Good to see you. This is a bad year. I can feel it. Raptors fan for 40 years. And this is the first year I don't see us competing. Okay, this doesn't make any sense because, like, we haven't been in the league for 40 years. We've only been in the league for 27 years. This will be our 27th year in the NBA. So first of all, I'm getting a red flag from that. And then, like, why do you think it's going to be a bad year? That doesn't make any sense. Like, we understand Random Gamer is in another fan nation. He's outed himself like this. What nation are you in? Because you are not a Raptors fan. Because first of all, you wouldn't have told me are you 40 years old and you're just saying that you were born immaculately as a Raptors fan and like boom, you're a little baby Raptors. They didn't even exist. And you're just a little baby. You had a magical little rattle that had a raptor on it. And you're like, Raptors. And you're 40 and you're a little baby and that happened? I don't believe this. There's something very suspicious here. G's gonna suss you out here too. Laugh out loud, angry Mexican. Sure you are. Sure you are. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. Joseph Starks is saying Gabe Davis equals Gabe Brown. I don't know what that's from. I don't even know who Gabe Davis is. No negative. That's right. Monique's right. No negative. This is the Positive Raptors channel. We talk positively. We talk them up. We got enough people sewering and slandering the Raptors on the American media and other places. And we don't do that here. We pie in the sky. We look to the rise above and get higher than everybody else expects. And that's always what happens. So once again, we can say that gentleman is in particularly a force, just like the other stuff, that don't believe in us, that don't believe, they doubt. And we always come up and show them that they were wrong. So we're going to do it again. Random Gamer saying, wow, not competing. I ain't even a Raptors fan. I can confidently say that they're going to finish as a top 4 team in the East at least. There we go. We got Sixers fan standing up for us and saying, you're crazy if you think that. I'm sorry. I applaud and thank you, Random Gamer, for that. And listen, I'll say this too. I want Philly to be in the top 4 too. Yeah, let's get this real good. Let's get this grudge match real good. This is just like old school wrestling. When you like Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair, when they were in the ring, they looked like they really hated each other, but in the back, they were best friends. Let's do this, Philly. Let's be best friends, but heels and faces in front of everyone else. Oh, we hate each other, but we really, on the down low, really respect each other. How about that? I like that relationship for our teams this year. Our sphere is saying, yes, sir. I got us at the fourth seed, 52 and 30. All right. I like that prediction that we've been talking a lot about it. Some of the people on Twitter have been trying to figure out how many wins we'll get over the season from looking at the schedule, it being released. And I think 50 is a nice number. I say 50 is the lowest. We got 48 last year. We had a slow start. We had a lot of injuries. Why can't we just improve 2 games from having things better? I think we'll do even better. I really do. I think 52 is very realistic. And I like that prediction. He's saying fourth seed. And we've said this a couple times. I still really do believe the Raptors are going to end up being the number one seed in the East this year. That we're going to astound people. We're going to be a whole other level of Raptors than we were last year, even. And that's going to be scary. And a lot of it will have to do with Precious and Scotty elevating their games and just being more and more like real superstars in this league. And they'll bring everybody with them and stuff like that. So, all right, let's keep going. I'm loving the comments from you, Arshvir. G saying Canadian ratings don't count for the U.S. media. They don't make money from the Raptors. The league wants to expand, so they need to make it more friendly for others, regardless of the media. Yeah. Yeah, this is part of it. This is the reason why we won't get games down there, is because in some ways it's hollow ratings for them. Like, sure, we have a Raptors nation across the US. You see us go to visiting arenas, and there are always Raptor fans there cheering us on. There will get some Raptor fan viewers from across the thing, but their general huge amount of Raptor fans are up here, and they're not even in their viewing audience. So this is really the biggest thing and the reason why this is the way it is. But this is the thing. That's why we got to get on their TV down there by being so damn entertaining that they want to watch us. Like, they're crying out for it. That there's a demand to see Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and Fred VanVleet do what they do. And I really do think that that'll become more and more attractive. Now, if we're winning a lot too, that doesn't hurt. Monique saying Eric Kareen has Scotty for All-Star for the Athletic. I think that's a good prediction. Like, seriously, we said this before the summer. If Scotty wants to be an all-star, he's going to be an all-star. He wanted to be rookie of the year. He got rookie of the year. That's really how it works. He says he wants something and he goes and takes it. And I think that's going to happen this year. It'll be undeniable that he's just so fun and an all-star. Like, he's a star. And people, like, he's doing 360 reverse dunks and stuff like that this summer in the pro-ams. People see that stuff and they become fans. They see that stuff and they're not even, they may hate the Raptors, but they'll be like, I love Scotty Barnes. I hate the Raptors, but Scotty Barnes is so fun to watch. It'll be that kind of shit that's happening and stuff like that. Arshvir is saying Hawks fans think their team is better than the Raptors. Yeah. Well, they have a lot to be feeling good about by having DeJounte Murray on their team all of a sudden with Trae Young and stuff. But there's a couple of things that have shown they're not going to be that much better than they were last year. In fact, I think they've been slowly declining since that really good year 2 years ago. Last year, they weren't as good as they were 2 years ago. And this year's going to be weird. Like, I don't think DeJounte is going to be a good fit with them. We talked about this when it happened. Like, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray backcourt is an undersized backcourt. That in some ways they can be bullied, and it may be a detriment to them defensively and stuff like that. It doesn't hurt that they went to Pro-Am and went out to Drew League, and they lost. They went out there, John Collins and Trae Young, and played in the Drew League, and they got their ass beat. So that tells me also something there. Not to mention, DeJounte Murray is making a dumpster fire out of his career by being so crazy on Twitter. This whole feud with him and Paulo right now is not good for the Hawks. It's a distraction, and it's kind of showing that he's crazy. And he may be a problem for them on the down low. He may be a knucklehead that we didn't realize, that because in San Antonio, when he was playing for Coach Popovich ain't going to have that shit. But now he's in Atlanta, and Atlanta probably can't control him like Popovich could with his respect for him as a coach. In Atlanta, he may go off the chain and be a real problem. So, yeah, go ahead and think that, Atlanta Hawks fan. You're crazy if you think you're better than the Raptors, because we're going to show you. We kind of like owned you guys last year. I think we beat you every single time we played Atlanta last year. Like I don't think y'all beat us last year. So very interesting, very very interesting. Yeah, 40 years old. That's pretty funny, isn't it? That's pretty funny. Random Gamer saying Raptors versus Sixers, Eastern Conference Finals. Look out! Ooh, he's got those eyes. I'm telling you, that would be good entertainment, especially for the buildup from last year. That matchup with us last year and going into this year, with we get you guys in the playoffs again. That will be popcorn eating TV. Oh, it will be. Yeah, it will. Tom Duke's saying he likes the prediction. Random Gamer making us cheer for Sixers Nation. You see, this is the thing. This is a goodwill tour. It's like, listen, Random Gamer and us having a relationship between Raptor and Sixer fan is a goodwill tour that we are learning how to respect and actually appreciate each other's teams in different ways. Like I said, my appreciation for James Harden has gone up so much since we played y'all in the playoffs. I saw how he was playing more like a teammate, facilitating, passing the ball, setting up Maxey and Embiid. And I was like, wow, James has actually got his shit together and he's actually being a functional, good NBA player. And then, like, I see what he's doing this summer. I'm like, dude, I'm actually becoming a James Harden fan all of a sudden, because I'm seeing him and Rico Hines working with the Raptors and like there's cool stuff. And like he said nice things to Scotty. And I'm like, well, dude, James, I'm actually like liking him now. All of a sudden, what is going on here? And like Maxey, too. Like, I really love Maxey. In fact, I was doing some NBA Yahoo drafts last night, mock drafts for fantasy, and I was picking Maxey. If I had a spot and it was like he was right around there, I'd take Maxey and put him on my fantasy team. So that says anything right there. Monique saying news and notes. Congratulations, Josh Lewenberg, on getting married. One of the best. Yes. All right. We'll do this. This is Raptor Freak channel, and he is an important person in the Raptors news coverage. Josh Lewenberg, probably the most dependable, reliable, no bullshit person on Twitter to get your news from. I mean, Blake Murphy's mixing in AEW and Blue Jays and all kinds of other shit with his content. Michael Grange is telling us about him changing his tires and getting his snow tires on for the summer and stuff like that. Josh Lewenberg is just straight up Raptors. This is this. And I love how he put it. He's like, I signed a lifetime contract, a guaranteed lifetime contract. Congratulations, Josh Liu. I have grown to really, really appreciate you while doing this channel because you are one of the best people for me to get information from. And to me, you're the most professional, real media person, reporter in Toronto right now. Doug Smith lost that by his silliness with Armani Brooks last season. And then also, like I said, Blake Murphy's not serious enough. And Michael Grange, I hate you. Let's just put it that way. You're an idiot. But Josh Lewenberg's my guy. So happy marriage, Josh Lewenberg. Mazel tov, baby. Woo! All right, let's keep going. All right, let's see. Arshfear saying DeJounte is overrated. He can't shoot. Yeah, he's really good at stealing the ball. He's a pest. He's got an attitude. He's got an edge. He can throw it down. He can do some badass highlights, but there's something that has been kept under wraps in his early career in San Antonio that's getting unleashed now. And I think that it's a very negative thing that is not going to be good for a team and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know if he can shoot. I mean, we'll have to see. That backcourt will be interesting. They're going to get a lot of steals, but they're going to get bullied a lot too. Like, I don't know how they're going to deal with bigger guards, like different kinds of bigger guards and stuff like that. A random gamer saying, I wouldn't be surprised if the top 5 teams in the East win 50+ games. The East stacked this year if we can all stay healthy. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Last year was very spread out among teams. And that may be because of teams missing games because of COVID outbreaks at different times and stuff like that. Because none of the Eastern teams last year really took off and were like way head and above everybody like Phoenix was in the West. And that was a lot of that. There was a lot of like evenness between Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, Miami, and us, because we were right there behind Philly in the end. And that's the thing. No, the only team that got over 50 wins was Miami. And that was just barely like stuff like that. So it's like, this could happen, what he's saying, but that'll mean that the bad teams in the East are really bad and that they're getting really low records. And that's how it's balanced and stuff like that. So that's an interesting prediction. And I won't say that it's not possible. I don't know if the top 5, I would say 3 or 4 of them could get over 50. And it may be like Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, us, something like that. I don't know if Miami. We'll see. G saying, when are they going to change Scotty's height? People still think he's 6'6", 6'7". Listen, this is part of our submarine mentality of coming in under the water. Nobody knows that we're there. They all underestimate us. They all say, oh, they're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. Well, they don't need to know Scotty's true height. Let's not update anybody's scouting reports this year. Let's go ahead and just let them think he's 6'7" still. And he shows up, he's 7 foot for opening day because he grew another 2 inches in the last month of the offseason. Because they're saying he's 6'10" right now. And that's the thing. He was listed at 6'7" last season. He is 6'10" now. It's official. He said it on his Twitch on Monday. I'm 6'10" now, you guys. He told us a month ago on his Twitch he's 6'9". And this is straight from the horse's mouth. This is straight from Scotty's mouth. I mean, if anybody's going to know how tall they are, it's the person. So he said he was 6'9" in July, and now he's telling us he's 6'10". So I don't know what's going on. Samal saying Spurs really traded a clown for 3 first-round picks. I mean, listen, I was mystified by this deal because I know the Spurs are kind of going into a rebuild. They're completely destroying it and starting over. Maybe they're in the Victor sweepstakes for next season to try and get Victor Wembanyama. But this is crazy. Like when they traded DeJounte, I was like, whoa, what are the Spurs doing? Because I thought he was a really good player, and he was obviously their best player. And I'm like, what are they doing? And now I understand more why they traded him. And the way you lay it out there, Arshvir, it really shows that was a good deal for the Spurs, that they got 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray. Good job, Popovich. I was mystified by that deal at the time, but now I start to understand it. And it was really brilliant, actually. Monique saying, is this officially the NBA year the NBA gets a team in Toronto? I hope so. These WNBA playoffs have been very exciting and fun and good for the game. I'm seeing all kinds of people on Twitter pushing, y'all need to be watching WNBA playoffs right now because they're exciting and great stuff. Like, Sue Bird just recently retired, and that was the highest rated WNBA game in years and years and years and stuff like that. We need to help as NBA fans stop having a blind eye to the WNBA. This is great, great basketball. And that we need to start changing our mentality as sports fan and stop ignoring that league. That league is kind of treated like how the Raptors are treated in the NBA. That more people, more men need to be okay with watching the WNBA and really getting into it. I once again say the best way to do this, to indoctrinate people to becoming a fan of a league, is to have very good fantasy sports for it. You set up a fantasy sports league, Yahoo, for WNBA, and you will get more and more viewers watching the WNBA just purely because of their selfish interests of seeing how their players will play and perform for their fantasy team. So that is a huge key to get the males involved and watching WNBA. Get WNBA fantasy going and watch it explode. Trust me, it will. All right, let's see. Angry Mexican saying, no, I'm a part of Raps Nation. Just saying I was a fan before the team was founded. So that's why I said 40 years. I have Boston, Bucks, Nets, Heat, Bulls, Hawks, Sixers in front of us this year. I live in Quebec for 40 years. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, all right. I believe. All right. We'll take you at your word and stuff like that. All right, you're just saying you're 40 years old, so you're just saying you've been a fan for your whole life. Like I'm telling you, I'm 47. I'll be 47 in like a week or so. I haven't been a fan that long. I wasn't a fan in the 80s. I was a Pistons fan. I was a Orlando Magic fan before I was a Raptors fan. And then I became a Raptors fan when they started in 95. So, but anyway, all right, let me see the teams you have ahead of us, and I'll tell you which ones you've got completely wrong. Boston, I could see maybe. Bucks, I can see maybe. The Nets will not finish higher than us. I'm going to tell you that right now. I will bet money with you right now that they will not finish higher than us. The Heat could. The Bulls will not finish higher than us also. I'm going to tell you that right now. The Bulls will not finish higher than us. The Hawks will not finish higher than us. The Sixers, it's a little bit, we can see. I put Boston, Milwaukee, Miami, and Philadelphia as those are the only legitimate teams you should have on that list. Those other 3 teams, I will tell you right now confidently, the Raptors will have a better record than those 3 teams by the end of the season. and stuff like that. So, all right, let's see. G saying you were a fan for 13 years before the team was even founded. That's funny. Wow, that's impressive. Maybe he's psychic. Maybe he knew way ahead of all of us. He's like, there's going to be a team in Toronto in the NBA, and it's going to be badass. I'm a fan already in my mind. I don't know. I don't know. Angry Mexican saying that the new odds came out and we are 16th. I hope we make the play in. Man, this guy is not a Raptors fan. He's not. He's a poser. He's posing. He is not a Raptors fan. We are going to do more than make the play in. We're going to be, I'm going to tell you right now, your prediction is that. My prediction is we're going to be number one in the East. That is my prediction. And listen, I watched them very closely over the last 27 years. I watched them since the very beginning. I was at games I figured out when my first Raptor game was that I went to. It was in November of 1995 at the Skydome. It was Detroit Pistons versus the Raptors. We had Damon Stoudemire and Walt Williams, and we're playing against Joe Dumars, who's now the head of basketball operations for the NBA, and Grant Hill. And that's what I'm saying. Like, listen, you got to tell me, listen, Angry Mexican, I'll believe you that you're a Raptors fan. If you can name me like 5 or 6 of the original Raptors players on the very first Raptors team, if you could list that right now, I'm checking your credentials right now because I feel like you're posing and you may be somebody from somewhere else and you're just kind of hanging out trying to be funny. All right, let's see. Evelyn's here, Granny Evelyn. Please come to our meet and greet next week, Friday, August the 26th, 7 o'clock, Noonan's Irish Pub, Broadview and Danforth Broadview Station in Toronto. I will be there, and Superfan Monique will be there, and we will be trading some basketball cards and talking basketball and just meeting and greeting. So Granny Evelyn, August 26th, 7 o'clock, Noonan's Pub. Let's see. Evelyn's saying, I love the positivity of Raptors fans here. I know our team will rise and shine. Basketball is a beautiful game when the 5 players on the court play with one heartbeat. I love that. She just quoted Dean Smith. Wow. Dean Smith, one of the greatest basketball coaches ever in the history of the world. Dean Smith of UNC, North Carolina, Michael Jordan's college coach, Dean Smith. I love this. This is how I know Granny Evelyn is a knowledgeable, great basketball fan. She is quoting one of the greatest minds in the sport ever. Wow, Granny Evelyn, you just blew me away. Oh my gosh. G saying the odds have been wrong 8 out of the last 9 years. A real fan would know this and not care about the odds. Yeah, I mean, what odds are we talking about? Are you talking about Vegas odds? Are you talking about some ESPN hack writer like Tim Bontemps just rating what they think and they want to put them there? Okay, you go ahead and believe that. You can believe the fantasy book that is written by ESPN, who does not include us in any kind of like way that is actually like realistic for who we are. You go ahead. You go ahead and keep sleeping. You'll be just like the others that have slept on us, and then we come and fuck them up, is what we're going to do. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Angry Mexican saying, I love Nick Nurse, but I'm worried about him after getting out coached by Doc Rivers. Do you think this is a future problem? This is a Sixers fan. This is a fan that is he's not a Raptor fan, first of all. And wrenches, be ready if you want to. Like, if he's going to drag us into this other bullshit too much, go ahead and be Rip Torn. But yeah, now listen, I will admit that Doc Rivers did outcoach Nick Nurse in that situation, but part of it was personnel and injuries. There were a lot of factors that were involved. We had a lot of different bad things happen for game 1 of Philadelphia and Toronto this year. And, you know, whether it's Gary being sick with the flu and nobody knowing it, whether it's Fred getting 2 fouls in the first 15 seconds of game 1, that was a ref hit job. You know, whether it's, you know, Embiid stepping on Scotty at the end of the game and not letting him finish and stuff like that. So it really, I understand what you're saying. I will admit Doc Rivers did outcoach him for that series, but that's not always the case. And that is not like going to be all the time. There will battle, and sometimes Doc will win, sometimes Nick will win. So we can't say, listen, I'm not going to sully Nick Nurse and his credentials and my confidence in him. I have full confidence in Nick Nurse that he's going to get the best out of our team, and we're going to get as many wins as possible because he's very, very intelligent, smart man. He's a better coach than Doc Rivers. Don't fool yourself. Doc just had a good game plan, and he did some really smart things in that series. But overall, Nick Nurse will get him. Trust me. Trust me. David's laughing at him. I love to see you, David. Click saying, Angry Mexican, your basketball IQ is very low. Yes, let's dump on him. I love the clicks here. I miss you, buddy. Monique saying, prediction, Precious top 3 in 6 man of the year voting. I like that. I know you guys are trying to get Gary involved for that award by putting him on the bench. I like this better. I like Precious rising up and getting six man of the year instead. Like just because that is the normal like thing that we got going on and stuff like that. Arshvir is saying Doc Rivers is the most overrated coach in the NBA, and Random Gamer is actually agreeing. This is Philly fan agreeing that yeah. I mean, listen, he won the championship with the Celtics how many years ago? Like 13, 15 years ago, something like that. And now, he's kind of coasted on that in different ways. Different places he's been, he has not left them in good shape. Now, things are going pretty good here, but I tell you, Philly fan may tell you we'd be more comfortable maybe with a different coach on our team and stuff like that. Like there is a track record with Doc that isn't so good within the playoffs recently. And that is something that, Philly fan doesn't want to have to deal with. They'd much rather have somebody like Nick Nurse who's completely new and fresh and can like not have that baggage from past failures in the playoffs. And that's the thing. Doc Rivers has baggage. And that is something that Philly fan does not find totally attractive and stuff like that. But you know what? I have to give him credit. He's an NBA coach. He's been a good coach in the league at different times, but at other times he has not been a good coach. And the other thing I worry about with Doc Rivers is he's older. He's been around the league for a long time. The league is evolving. And sometimes coaches from other eras or other mindsets, they get left behind. And if I was in Sixers Nation, I would be a little worried about that, just from him being like an old NBA head, from being from the 80s when he played, and then him coaching. His real coaching heyday was in the 2000s. And now we're in the 2020s, and the game is evolving. Will the game leave Doc Rivers behind, is what I'm asking. That's the kind of stuff I would be worried about if I was Sixers freak. And I think that that's echoed in like Random Gamers saying what he's saying here. Like I said, he's a good coach, and I think he can run a team really well. But is he innovative enough? Is he on the cutting edge of coaching in the NBA in certain ways? That is the thing that's going to really be a strength for coaches going forward, because the game is changing. It's undeniable that the NBA is changing in a lot of different ways. And that means being quick to change. And that was part of the reason why we made the switch from Casey to Nick Nurse, was because Casey's this kind of coach that kind of gets stuck in his ways, and he's stubborn, and he may not be so quick to innovate as like Nick Nurse is and stuff like that. And that's why we made that switch, because we noticed we could only get to a certain place in the playoffs with Casey as our coach. And we made a really ballsy move, and it really paid off. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Because like I look at Doc Rivers as being a similar kind of coach to Dwayne Casey, and that those coaches, they have a danger of getting left behind as far as how they look at the game, stuff like that. Click saying Nurse didn't get out coached versus Philly. We just didn't have the personnel, and most of our team was injured. Yeah, I'll agree with that. That's a huge factor. That's a huge factor. Not having regular Fred, that's a huge factor and stuff like that. Not having Scotty for 2 games, not having Gary for 2 games. Like those are a couple of our starters. That's like 3 starters. 3 of our regular starters weren't really available for a part of the series and stuff like that. Click's also saying, second, Atlanta is not better than us. Their defense won't be good. The Bulls will fold in the playoffs. The Nets are a play-in team, and we are a top 4 in all, at the very least, the 5th seed. Yeah, we won't be lower than we were last year. In fact, why would we not predict that we're going to be better? Because we have better health. We have more time together. The players will know each other way better this year and stuff like that. I love what Click's saying. Click's been an original on this station since I started last year. And once again, Click is just laying down the truth. This is the truth. What's he saying here? Cool Cat's saying, yep, Scotty said he grows some more. 6'10" is the final statement. Yeah, Nick Nurse is saying it. Listen, I look at it kind of like wrestling. Andre the Giant really wasn't 7'4". He was more like 6'10". But if you put that higher number out there, it's more impressive, and people are a little more intimidated or scared of him. Go ahead, let's inflate Scotty's height number. Let's start saying he's 7'3" or something like that. I don't know. Just like in wrestling, I'm all about it. Arshvir is saying Raptors have better chances at getting a top 3 seed than being a play-in team. Yeah, I'm totally agreeing with Arshvir on this. It's more likely we'll be near the top of the Eastern Conference than fighting for a play-in. It's just how it is. And people don't want to realize that in the U.S. And I don't know, Angry Mexican could live in Quebec and may be like some sort of NBA fan, but I don't think he's a Raptors fan. He's saying he is, but he's not. We could quiz him, but I don't think we're going to get that. We're not going to get the answers we want. Monique saying, click, tell him again. She's laughing at Angry Mexican. All right, Lolita's saying, I like that there's no Raptors game on Christmas. I can enjoy the game the day with family. The boys will have the family togetherness and have the day off. Time to relax. It is. It's so nice. I mean, I know a lot of our players are younger and they're not attached. And they don't have girlfriends or any, like, they may have girlfriends. We just don't know about it. But they're not married and they don't have kids like Fred. Fred is one of the few guys on the team that's like that. Pascal doesn't have kids. OG doesn't have kids. Chris doesn't have kids. Thad does. Otto probably does too. So those guys, the older guys, will get time with their kids, and that's really valuable. And like stuff like that. I love the pictures of Fred with his kids recently. Like they went to a pool, and you see Fred Jr. in the water wings and stuff like that. He just looks so cute. Fred Van Vliet Jr. Yeah, his kids are so cute. Oh my gosh. And that just makes me happy that Daddy Freddie can be home with his kids on Christmas. It's just a really good thing. It's really, really good thing. All right, let's see what's up. Okay, Evelyn's saying she's going to be here. Yes, Granny Evelyn's going to come to the meet and greet. So come meet all of us. It'll be so fun. If you live in Toronto and you like this channel and you want to come and see us for real, come and meet us on August 26th, Friday, 7 p.m., Noonan's Irish Pub, Broadview and Danforth Station. Yeah. All right. Arsphere's saying it took Doc 7 games to beat an 8-seed Hawks team in 08. Yeah. And he has this really, like, even when they're doing well, he has a choke factor that is in history. And that's the thing that Philly fan doesn't want to have to deal with. They could be doing really well and still be worried and insecure because Doc Rivers has a track record of fucking things up by the end of things. Like he has these leads in series and then still the team comes back and beats him and stuff like that. So this is part of the baggage with Doc Rivers that makes people kind of not totally sure about him, is his track record in some situations and stuff like that. So Random Gamer say, I just want Sam Cassell to become the head coach. Doc just has an old philosophy. Yeah, this is a great idea. I love Sam Cassell. Like I seen him working with James and them this summer. Sammy is a Seminole, just like Scotty and I. I watched Sam Cassell play at Florida State when he was in college way, way back. This is me dating myself again. I was going to Florida State right around when Sam Cassell was going to Florida State. So I have a lot of appreciation for Sam, and I feel like he's been ready to be a head coach in the NBA for a long time. Like he's been assistant coach in this league for how long now? And he should be a head coach at this point. So maybe that is what naturally could happen. That if Doc has some sort of failures or something like that, then Sam will just step into that seat. And I'm sure Sixers fan, like Random Gamer saying, he'd be very happy with this move. And I think it would be a good move for your team, actually, in some ways. Jan, you're not late. You're never late here. We can go over an hour. I've done 3-hour streams. You could show up at like 11:30 and I might still be on, stuff like that. So let's see. Monique saying Raptors versus Hawks will be legendary from now on. Like we said, let's go, Adrian Sr. Yeah, Monique wants to make this a rivalry because of the Griffins. They got Adrian Jr. and we got Adrian Sr. on our coaching staff. That's going to be I don't know how much that'll be like that marquee or anything. If it'd be something if Adrian Griffin Sr. was still playing and he's playing his son and stuff like that, but it'll be fun either way. The matchup that's going to be real interesting for Atlanta this year is going to be Orlando. That this is a real grudge match now. This is the kind of matchup that should be on the rivalries week. Orlando versus Atlanta, because Apollo and DeJounte and their little dust up this summer at Pro-Am. That these guys do not like each other at this point. Well, DeJounte doesn't like Paulo, but I don't know. Paulo may be like, I don't know why he doesn't like me or something like that. That's the way it seems right now. So that game should be in rivalry week, Atlanta versus Orlando. It's not the most marquee matchup, but it could have some real fireworks and interesting stuff. It could be that the NBA doesn't want to encourage this kind of friction in the league from player to player because it could get a little ugly and things like that. But yeah, I like that whole Adrian Griffin thing, but I don't know if it's going to be that interesting or powerful. It'll be something cool. It'll be special for them to meet each other for the first time, but I don't know that it's going to generate any kind of extra rivalry between our two teams. So, all right, let's see. Random Gamer saying, I'm happy we play y'all early in the season for obvious reasons, but also because I kind of want to see Maxie and Scotty back together. They just have good chemistry. You can tell they are good friends. Yeah, they're cool. They're cool with each other. I think it's hilarious what Scotty did. He tried to hug him. He said, "I'm gonna hug you," and Maxie's like, "No, don't hug me." He's like, "Don't hug me." Oh, it's so fun. And I wish they had done better at that skills competition. That is something that people use against Scotty. They show that highlight and they're like, how is this the rookie of the year? Stuff like that. Come on. That game didn't mean jack shit. And it was what it was. It was fun. And like, honestly, Scotty was very graceful about failing in that moment. He could have made it a lot worse in some ways. He just kept going. And, it did look bad, but it is what it is. It's fun. But yeah, I like that we're playing you guys early too because this is something that like last year we played you guys twice in the preseason and I didn't see it was just normal then. We didn't have this rivalry like we do now because of the playoffs. And I was like, man, we're playing Philly a lot early. Now this year we're playing Boston like we played you guys last year. We got Boston twice in the preseason this year. So that means we're going to play the Celtics 6 times this season. And it's crazy because the 2 games against the Celtics in Boston are at the end of our schedule. Well, we're probably going to be jockeying for position. So those are going to be real, like that may be real grudge match too at the end of the year, Boston, Toronto, and stuff like that. Monique saying, I'm guessing the 905 schedule will be out mid-October. Gene Lee, the guy who made the schedule, who was interviewed by Katie Heindel, says that they make the WNBA schedule and the 905s, the G League schedule also. So the same people that make the NBA schedule are the people who make WNBA schedule and the G League schedule. So they're very busy people. And I'm sure they figure out the G League schedule after, obviously, the NBA schedule, just so they can make it fit right with the NBA and stuff that they're doing with that and stuff like that. Yeah, mid-October, it could be. When does their season start? I'm wondering if it'll probably have to do with that and more and stuff like that. So just real quick, I have the whole schedule printed out on a calendar here, and I have different stuff I wanted to talk about, different notes. We got 9 games on US TV, which is great. The 9 afternoon games, they're fishy to me. We've got a few afternoon games on Saturdays and Sundays, and some of them start from a range of noon to like 5 p.m. And they're very weird, some of them. The first afternoon game we play is on November the 26th against Dallas. And that one will be at 5 p.m. our time. But it's in Dallas. No, wait, actually it's 5 p.m. It'll be that's the game here. Never mind. There's another one against them where we play in the afternoon. Like the afternoon games are fishy to me. Like I never like seeing the Raptors play at like noon or 1 o'clock or 2 or 3. And we have, like I said, 9 afternoon games as the schedule is scheduled for right now. Now those times may change. They may be getting bumped into the evening or stuff like that. But I see 2 of those afternoon games are against Detroit, which are really, really weird and fishy to me, especially that one of them is at noon in Detroit on a Saturday and stuff like that. I don't like that necessarily. I really don't like afternoon games and stuff like that. So, all right, we have the most games of the season in January. We're playing 16 games in the month of January, but other months are all spread out in different ways. Like, in fact, I'm really mad about the November schedule in a way because we got 14 games in November, but they jammed us up with 5 games in 1 week where we play Chicago twice, once in Toronto, and then we go on a Sunday. Then we go to Chicago and play them again in Chicago. So there's a home and home back to back, like 2 days in a row with Chicago starting on Sunday. And then we get 1 day off. We play Houston here back in Toronto. And then we go on the road. And on Friday and Saturday, we play Oklahoma City and Indiana on the road. That's 5 games and 7 nights. And that smacks of some of the stuff we had to do last season because of postponements and condensing the season at times where we had like these crazy stretches where we have 4 games and 5 nights, stuff like that. That part of that November, that second week of November is crazy, crazy dense. And then there's so much time near the end of the month where we have like 3 days off, 2 days off, 2 days off, and they're all spread out. So that'll be a little bit of a cluster of games where it could be very hectic and busy in that week in November. And then like moving forward, December is interesting because there's a few back-to-backs. Like, listen, all right, let me look at the back-to-backs real quick and I'll go over each scenario because they're kind of like, Interesting. Like the first back to back will happen right away. We'll play against Brooklyn on a Friday night, and then we'll have to go to Miami and play Miami on a Saturday. That's a difficult back to back because it's the Miami Heat on the second night. That's no fun. And then you got Chicago and Chicago one I was just talking about. As Monique's saying here, we see DeMar more, which is great. But yeah, that'll be tough. The thing I don't like about this back to back is that we're in Dallas the game before on a Friday, and then we have to travel back to Toronto, cross the border, and play in Toronto against Chicago, and then play in Chicago the next night. Why didn't we flip that? Why don't we play in Chicago first and then come back to Toronto after that? That's the thing that I saw with that. Oklahoma City and then at Indiana, that's not a tough back to back. I don't mind playing Indiana on the second back to night of a back to back. Then we have in December at the beginning of the month at Brooklyn, and then we go to Orlando. That's not a bad back to back because Orlando on the second night of a back to back, that's not too bad. And then later near Christmas, we play Golden State comes to Toronto on the 18th of December. And then the very next night, we have to fly to Philadelphia and play the Sixers on the second night of a back to back. That is a very difficult back to back. And that favors the Sixers immensely. That we're going to play the defending champions in Toronto on a Sunday and then get on a plane and have to play the Sixers the very next night in Philly. And that'll be the first time we play Philly in Philly. So that'll be a big deal. That'll be a big deal, that one. And then after Christmas, we've got Memphis and Phoenix back to back, but at least they're home games. They'll be both in Toronto, so no travel. We'll play Memphis on a Thursday night, and then the very next night, Phoenix comes to Toronto and plays us also. That's a really tough West Coast two-punch. As far as the Grizzlies are a legitimate Western Conference contender now. I'm sorry. They're in a lot of ways similar to us, that they are a real deal contender. They may not get the same kind of respect that the other ones will, but Memphis is a real deal contender. And then you got Phoenix, the team that had the best record last year, a team that is still very much a favorite team in this league in different ways. So that is a very tough back-to-back at the end of December. Memphis and Phoenix, but at least they're both here at Scotiabank Arena and there's no travel involved. Then there's a back-to-back in January where we're both, one of the games is an afternoon game in New York. We'll be playing the Knicks in New York at Madison Square Garden on MLK Day. That's fantastic. I love that. Like, listen, if we're not playing on Christmas Day, whatever, MLK Day is actually more prestigious to me in some ways. Now, our game's not on national television, but that is cool that we're playing in the Mecca, the biggest arena, like important historic arena in the NBA at this point is the Madison Square Garden. And that we're going to be playing there on MLK Day in the afternoon on a Monday. That's fantastic. And then the next day, we have to go and play Milwaukee in Milwaukee. Now, that's a tough back-to-back. Even though the New York game will be in the afternoon and it's not at night, that's easier for travel to get to Milwaukee and be ready for the next game. And that Milwaukee game will be on TNT. That will be very important. They want Milwaukee to get some get back against us. We swept Milwaukee Bucks last year, did badass doing that. But the NBA wants the Milwaukee Bucks to get some get back against us. So that's why they'll put a couple of the Milwaukee games that we play this year are the second night of a back-to-back. I noticed this. So that's going to be an important game. That game on TNT against the Milwaukee Bucks on January the 17th is after a back-to-back. So the next back-to-back after that is we're at Golden State on a road trip. We played this road trip. Our big road trip for the year is going to start at the end of January. On the 25th, we'll be going to Sacramento and playing the Kings. And then on the 27th and 28th, we're in Golden State in Portland. Now, the Golden State game is the rivals game that will be on NBA TV during rivalry week. That is the rivalry game at Golden State, Toronto. The next night, and this isn't that bad of a travel. If you're going from San Francisco to Portland, it isn't too bad. But we do play Golden State one night and then Portland the very next night in Portland. And that is a difficult back-to-back in some ways, just because those are good teams. And so, although Portland may not be as good this year as we think they will be, in some ways, I think they may be a team that's a pretender. I don't think they're going to be as good. I think they'll be very similar to they were last year. How about, let's put it that way? We have no back-to-backs in the month of February during the All-Star weekend, stuff like that. They're all spread out and really nice. Actually, February looks like a nice cream puff kind of month. There's a lot of easy games. We get both our games against the tanking Utah Jazz. We have a San Antonio Spurs game. There's a Houston Rockets game. There's 2 Detroit games. Hopefully, those could be easier games this year. Probably not, though. Orlando. Yeah, there's some easy games in February. February may be our easiest month. And then March, where's the back-to-backs there? There's a back-to-back once again where we have to play Milwaukee on the second night of the back-to-back. We'll be in Toronto and play Minnesota on March the 18th. And then on the very next night, on the 19th, we have to go to the Bucks again on their home court and play on NBA TV, another national televised Milwaukee game, and it's in Milwaukee. That's really interesting to me that those 2 games in Milwaukee, when we go to Milwaukee, are going to both be on the second night of back-to-back, and they're both on national television. You tell me what that means. They want Giannis to beat us on television in front of everybody, is what they're trying to set up with that. So, and then finally, there's one more back-to-back in April. It's at Charlotte, at Boston. And I've talked about this one already. Boston will also be on a back-to-back that night too. So it's even. They're going to play the night before just like we will. But it's still tough because it's going to be in Boston and it's going to be very near the end of the season. And we'll have to see where everybody's at with their record and what they're playing for, whether they're trying to play for seeding, which seed, or they're trying to play to get out of the play-in or whatever, and those kind of things and stuff like that. So let's see. Monique is saying, or Lolita's saying, I don't know. There's just something about Doc Rivers that I don't like. He sounds untrustworthy. He's a weird guy. Like when I was a young kid and I watched him play as a player, I was a fan of his. He was a good point guard for the Atlanta Hawks. And he was around with Dominique and Spud Webb and Moses Malone. Kevin Willis, a great Toronto Raptor, was on that team at that time too. That was a fun Hawks team. And Doc really was kind of like Robin to Dominique Wilkins' Batman. It was like Dominique Wilkins was the man. He was the franchise leader. He was the dude who was throwing down these crazy windmills. There's a thing recently, somebody was saying that if you tried to go up against Dominique when he's trying to score, he would try and break your arm because he's that kind of strong. And he's like, you are trying to test me. So it's like even different, like with challenging and posterizations, because Dominique was vicious. He would just go up, and if you got your arm in between him and his windmill, he would hurt you. Like he would literally still go in and dunk it, and he may ratchet your arm where he hurt you. He was that kind of player. But Doc was fun on that team. I had a lot of respect for him at that time, and I enjoyed watching him. I was actually a fan of his. Now, as a coach, I started to not like him in different places. Like when he was a coach of the Magic, I did not like him when he was coaching the Magic, in different places like that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. There is something off about him. It may be that, like, in some ways, Doc has some sort of arrogance about him that rubs people the wrong way. I think that is what it is. He was very humble when he was a player, but as a coach, he's become a little bit more arrogant. Let's just put it that way. He was very, very humble as a player, though. I will say that. And finally, Monique is saying we will be ready for whatever. That's right. You know, we could go over this with a fine-tooth comb and look at this schedule and be like, oh, they slighted us this way. They slighted us that way. But as Gene Lee, who makes the season, said, he wants every team and fan base to feel like they have a shitty schedule. That if there's nobody that's happy about their schedule, then they know that they did a good job. That it has to be that way. That they really do try and make it as fair as possible. They do take into account every single back-to-back people have to do. Every single road trip and every single thing about the schedule is taken into account. And they do have a formula for determining if it's fair or not. And this is very serious stuff. And they do this. So I'm like Monique. It's like, look at the schedule. Yeah, there's tough parts to it. There's a very grueling part at the beginning. There's a very tough end to it with Boston and Milwaukee being our last 3 games. But if anybody's ready to take this challenge and go through this gauntlet of games and travel and all the different things that an NBA season takes, it's the Toronto Raptors. And I believe in our team, and I believe that they will do really, really well no matter what. That we've seen in the last year some really, really tough matchups. Like this whole West Coast trip last season, where we were playing Denver and Phoenix on 2 nights in a row. That is just nasty scheduling. Well, what happened? We showed up and we beat both of them. We beat two of the top Western Conference teams in 2 nights. And that is a huge a huge accomplishment. And that's what I'm saying is that these kind of schedules, when they have difficult things in them and stuff, that is the time to rise above and show just how badass you are, that you can handle that kind of thing. So I like the challenge of difficult things in the schedule, but I also like that there are really good rest breaks. If I had to grade this schedule as far as difficulty, I'd say this schedule is easier than last year's. Yeah, I'd say that we have an easier schedule this year than we did last year, and that's good. That's good for all kinds of things. Because considering that we did really well with our wins last year, with all the different things, I think that we're set up even better with this schedule. Because, like I said, a lot of these games, there's days in between. There's not a lot of like clustering up, and there is a lot of good rest time and stuff like that. In fact, I can see how Nick Nurse may be handling these like games where we play the team twice and we have a day in between. Like when Philly comes to see us on the 26th, it'll be just like a playoff series because we'll play them in Toronto on the 26th, and then we'll have the 27th off, and we'll still be in Toronto. We won't have to travel or anything, and we can really take a practice and adjust and look at the things that we did in the first game against Philly and change things for the next game. It'll really have a playoff kind of feel, a little mini playoff series kind of feel, having 2 games against the same opponent in the same city with 1 day in the middle off. And I want to see Nick Nurse will probably do these days where he does like really interesting days off in the middle where he can actually get some good practice in because there's no travel involved. They can just stay in the city they're already in and have a day off in between the 2 games and work on things. And I like that. I think that's an advantage in some ways. But if you're going to take it even further, NBA, and innovate your schedule to be even better and more friendly to the teams, start making these 2-game homestands in one place back-to-backs. Don't put a middle day in between because then you can have back-to-backs more where there's no travel in between them. And that makes more sense to me in some ways. If you have to have back-to-backs and you're going to do these kind of 2-game homestands, why don't you make the back-to-backs involved with them? It just makes sense. Maybe that's too much makes sense, and that's why they don't. But maybe it'll evolve into that. I really do think because they really do innovate. They try and look and listen to everybody. They listen to the teams. They listen to the arenas. They listen to the broadcasters and the ratings, and they take everybody's input. And that is what it takes to build the NBA schedule. Now, before there were computers and stuff like that, the NBA schedule makers used to have to do it in their head and write it all out and be super organized. Nowadays, they have an algorithm in a computer program that will print it all out for them. It would be so much harder to do the older days and figuring out all the logistics with the NHL and their season with the buildings and our season and how they would interlock and just concerts and stuff. They talk about how Disney on Ice wreaks havoc for NBA schedule makers because it's like Disney on Ice takes like 3 or 4 day blocks from an arena being able to be used and stuff like that. So there's so much that goes into it. The schedule makers are trying to be as fair as possible. And if they piss everybody off equally, they know they did a good job. So there you go. All right, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to add. Blake Murphy had some interesting little stats about the schedule that he posted. We have the 3rd most rest advantage games. We have the 3rd fewest rest disadvantage games. So that's good. Those are both on the right ends of those things. We have the 3rd most rest advantage and the 3rd fewest rest disadvantage games. We're tied for the fewest back-to-backs with 12, and we have the 2nd fewest miles traveled by any team. So that's all good news. That's all good for the Raptors and stuff like that. And I do commend the NBA for a couple of things. I commend them from doing these kind of schedules where they don't travel as much because we'd like to cut down on air pollution, like flying jets and stuff like that. I think that it's smart to cluster games against teams for the season together and go ahead and have 2-game series all over the place in the schedule. Where we play Philadelphia here in town, 2 games at home, and then we go to Philadelphia and we play 2 games in Philadelphia in a row. So it's kind of like they're 4 games, but they're only actually 2 trips and stuff like that. That's what I want to see. And the other thing that's huge, and I should have mentioned this yesterday, and I'm so proud and happy about the NBA. Once again, the NBA does things that are beyond the game, and they're so important. Having no games on election day and encouraging people to come vote, and even if they open the arenas and make them polling places, this is so huge. This is the kind of stuff that pisses off, certain people in the states, the people that are trying to stop people from voting, trying to make it harder for them by making voting rules harder to be eligible, by disqualifying people with stupid shit like not having their current address and stuff like that. This is the opposite direction. The NBA is not having any games on purpose on election day to encourage people to go vote for sure. And the fact that they're saying it and putting it out there gets to an audience that may not give a shit about voting, and that they may be more likely to vote because the NBA did this. This is so forward thinking, and this is just the social justice warrior kind of thing that I need and want the NBA to do more and more. Where they are the cutting edge on fighting these kind of fights, and this is brilliant. Whoever came up with the idea that they wouldn't play on election day and do this, and hopefully a lot of the teams will open their arena and make it a polling place for people to go and vote. This is huge. And this is the NBA fighting for our democracy in the US to continue to be a democracy. So kudos to you, Adam Silver. In some ways, you really knocked the ball out of the park with this decision. And I am so proud of you guys. You guys have done stuff like this in the past, and it's had a huge impact. It's changed the way people think, whether it's the stuff in the bubble with Black Lives Matter or whatever stuff you guys have done in activism, in politics, has had a good positive net effect. And I really, truly believe that we may see this midterm election in November have an impact because of the NBA doing this, that this could actually be something that really helps things in the midterms in a lot of ways for voter turnout. So kudos to them. Kudos to them. Monique's saying, if you had to predict the record before the All-Star game, what is it? Well, I don't know how many games they will have played by then, Monique. I'll just say for the season, I'm going to say that I think the Raptors will get between 50 and 55 wins. I think that they could get closer to 60, but we'll see. We'll see. I may change that, obviously, depending on how we do starting off. But if we get the ball running and we're kicking ass right away, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Miami twice, boom, we're just kicking butt. Like I said, I want to start the season 10-0. Well, if we're going to be 10-0 at the beginning of the season, that means we beat Cleveland, Brooklyn, Miami twice, Philadelphia twice, Atlanta, San Antonio, and Dallas. Real quick, like that is not an easy start to the season. So yeah, that'll be real tough to do, is be undefeated in the first 10 games and stuff like that. So yeah, we have 6 of these 2-game series where we'll play the same team 2 games in a row, 6 of them this year. And I think last year we had 1 or 2 of them. So they were already kind of trying them, but now they're going more in the direction of having more of them. So I love the schedule. I'm excited that we finally have it. I'm glad that we have dates to look forward to. We have games that we can look at and circle and say, I want to be at this game because I know this person will be in town and I want to go to the game with them, or I want to be at this game because this is special, something like that. Or I really want to see Kobe, or not Kobe, LeBron or something. So I'm going to be at the Laker game. Now I know when it is and stuff like that. So it's all good stuff. Oh, and congratulations. Speaking of LeBron, this is a huge contract extension that he signed yesterday, $97 million for the next 2 years with the Lakers, with a player option. And it does seem like that, if he said he wants to play with Bronny in the NBA and he's going to be on the Lakers, who knows? We'll have to see what happens. But congratulations to LeBron James on this huge contract. Part of it is really interesting is he's now the most paid NBA athlete ever with this extension, surpassing Kevin Durant. So I don't know if this is a whole competitive thing between Kevin and LeBron, but yeah, now LeBron's above you with salary, Kevin. So you better get something going and make sure you get some more money. So, all right, guys, thanks for being here with me today, talking about the schedule. Oh, once again, and I want you guys to tell me for real, if there's any interest in this. I won't do it if there's not, if we don't want to do this. I am seriously considering doing, I want to do a Yahoo Fantasy Basketball League this year with our channel. That everybody here, if you're interested in playing fantasy basketball with me on Yahoo, we're going to have a Raptors Freak Fantasy Basketball League. Everybody will have a team. We'll have a live draft in September, and we'll pick our teams and just have a little bit of fun. And maybe that I do fantasy news segments this season coming up where I give advice on how to run your fantasy basketball team. Because this is an area that I have a lot of expertise in. I'm very, very good at fantasy sports. And if you guys are interested in that kind of content and stuff like that, I could add that as a little bit of a new part to my stream, as far as like a new segment or something like that, the fantasy segment or something like that. And we can, of course, take real examples from our league and things that are happening in the league and stuff like that and talk about them. But if there's no real interest in it, nobody really cares about it or wants to play, then I probably won't do it. But it's up to you guys. If you guys are interested in playing Yahoo Fantasy basketball with me, then let me know and we'll get the ball rolling. But like I said, I've been doing mock drafts the last night, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm seeing where the Raptors are and the whole relation of the rankings, and seeing how the beats are with like going in. If you're the first pick near the beginning of the draft, or if you're near the end of the draft picking, or in the middle of the draft, and what the different rhythms of who you get from where you are in your draft position. It's very interesting to see and stuff like that. So you're welcome, David S. And thank you for being here and being a part of this channel. Seriously, I really do appreciate it. All right, guys, please like, comment, subscribe, share, and all that kind of stuff. Monique, you're invited by just listening. You know what? Listen, if you're interested in playing this fantasy sports, I don't know if you've ever played any fantasy basketball, Monique. It's a lot of fun. And it really gets you in depth with the stats. You really start to understand what's going on with guys stat wise and stuff. That's part of the reason why I like doing it. But it can be very time consuming depending on how competitive you get about it and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, thanks again. Please share, subscribe, whatever you can do to help me. I appreciate it. This is a long haul. I'm partly kind of thinking about taking September off, but I don't think I will. I think I'm just going to keep going. I want to keep my streak alive. So I appreciate it. It's a good schedule. We're going to enjoy this season. I'm really excited and happy that we got basketball to look forward to. All right, guys. See you guys tomorrow for a Friday freak out. I'm not totally sure what I'll be talking about. I'll figure it out this afternoon. And hope you guys have a great Thursday. And thanks for being here with me, everybody. Have a great day. Let's go Raptors. Now we know what we got ahead of us. Let's get ready for it and be ready and hit the ground running. October 19th against Cleveland here in Toronto. Let's go Raptors. Yeah. Oh, so good.